Good morning. And welcome. So good to see you today. Before we begin singing, I invite you to put our phones in worship mode. And today we do indeed celebrate the web of life. We're going to begin by singing together number 175. And I'm going to just remind everyone that we are, while masks are optional in our congregation, we sing with masks. Okay, so I will invite you to put your mask on to sing. And I didn't get my pictures in, so I'm going to say hello from our dogs Ringo, Della, and our cat Quincy. And a shout out to the champion fat bear of Katmai National Park, 747 Bear Force One. Please rise and body your spirit as we sing.
Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. My name is Dave Steele, and I am your service associate this morning. We are pleased to have the Reverend Russell Elleven as our guest minister via a video sermon that he prepared especially for this day. I'll say more about Reverend Elleven when I introduce his sermon a little bit later in the service. We welcome those of you who are in the sanctuary this morning, especially our youth. We welcome those who are joining us via Zoom technology. Unitarian Universalism has no creed or dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live in relationship with each other according to Unitarian Universalist principles and our congregation's covenant of right relations. We embrace diversity in all of its forms. Everyone is welcome. You can learn more about our church by visiting our website, uuchurchlc.org. If you are visiting with us today, would like to meet you. If you are in the sanctuary, please rise and body your spirit, and when I bring you the microphone, please introduce yourself and tell us where you are from. Do we have any visitors in the sanctuary this morning who are brave enough to stand and introduce themselves? Oh.
Thank you very much. My name is Don Stahl, And my wife and I moved here to Cruces from Oregon, Ashland, Oregon, in the southern part. I am not a member of the Unitarians, but I was married in a Unitarian church to my first wife. That was many years ago, many changes ago. We are here. We've been here for just a month over 1 year. And I'm glad to meet you all. Thank you for welcoming me.
Thanks. Right. Anyone else? If we have visitors on Zoom who would like to introduce themselves, all you need to do is unmute yourself and reveal yourself by turning on your camera and telling us who you are and where you are. Do we have any Zoom visitors today? Okay, I guess not. Okay. Okay, we are pleased that you are all here with us today for this service. And if you are new or visiting, we request that you complete a visitor's card in the lobby. And if you are on Zoom and have not revealed yourself to us, please leave us your contact information in the chat so that we can invite you to other church events. And at the end of the service, we invite people to join us for coffee and conversation outside of the RE building, which is just down the breezeway. Or if you're on Zoom, you can stay on and be assigned to a chat room if you wish. The members of the Richens-led Covenant Group are our hospitality hosts this morning. Now, in lieu of oral announcements, I want to encourage everybody to turn over your order of service, and you will see a series of very, very important public service announcements for our congregation. I encourage you to read them. There may be a quiz at the end of this service. Okay, a few words about our service this morning. It is brought to you by the Social Justice Committee's Animal Advocates Ministry. Our mission is to advocate for the welfare of all animals and the people who love them. On behalf of the esteemed Jean Gilbert, the lovely and talented Steele, and myself, we want to express our appreciation to the congregation for all of the support you have shown us over the years. In the past 10 years, our signature program, Cans for Critters, has turned your donated aluminum cans into nearly $16,000. Yeah. To help meet the veterinary needs and basic needs of animals in our community, over 300 of them who might not otherwise have received that care. And last quarter, thanks to your generosity, we raised over $800 to support the work of Safe Haven Animal Sanctuary through our Change for Change initiative. We thank you. Our opening reading this morning is from a memoir by the late Ron Barrett, a family farmer from Maine. He writes, "I know of few things more touching than the way of a cow with a calf. After it is born, the mother cleans it up and nudges it to its feet to nurse. It is helplessness personified. Its legs are too long and its body's too heavy. It tries to stand and it staggers and falls down over and over and over again. And each time the cow reaches down, murmurs to it in mother talk. And if you have never heard 1,000 pounds of a cow crooning to its newborn calf, you have no idea how closely we are related." And now, if you'll join me for our chalice lighting, And if you'll rise in body or spirit as we light the chalice, we'll repeat together our affirmation of covenant and sing our doxology in English and Spanish. The words for these are on the screen. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another.
Good morning, church. This morning, along with my teenager. Hello. Hey. You pull it down if you want. We will be reading the story, Henry and the Bullfrog. So, let's see. Can you hear both of us?
Yeah.
Well, no.
No.
To those who've learned to let go. Saturday night arrived. Animals gathered around a little pond in a wood. They found comfy places to sit. Quiet clouds drifted across the cool white moon. Soon, the most wonderful sounds began. First, the Peeper brothers began to peep. As they sang, little bubbles rose on their throats. Cricket warmed up his wings. His chirps blended perfectly with the symphony of animal sounds. Lady Loon opened her beak. Her soprano trill reached to the stars. The animal audience held its breath, waiting. Where was the star of the show? A large, blobbly creature emerged from the water. He lumbered onto a lily pad. Bullfrog gave his musical friends a broad, froggy grin, then took a deep breath, swelling up with lots of swampy air. Out a song came, deep and powerful. It shook the animals to their furry and scaly toes. When the show was over, the animals sighed happily. Another wonderful concert. The next Saturday night, Lady Loon, the Peeper brothers, Cricket, and Bullfrog sang together again. Something crashed through the cattails. A bright light shone in the animals' eyes.
It's a boy.
Cried Gray Fox.
Run.
Cried Raccoon.
Slither away.
Hissed Rainbow Snake. all the creatures scattered for dens and trees and holes and hollow logs. Except for the bullfrog. The light shone in his eyes, and he couldn't move,
What a great frog.
said the boy, whose name was Henry. He scooped him up with gentle hands and put him in a big jar.
I believe I'll take him home and keep him.
Bullfrog stared out of the jar with big eyes, but he didn't croak a word. Henry found an empty tank. He poured in some pond water. Then he put in some nice flat stones for Bullfrog to sit on.
Now you can sing for me.
But Bullfrog couldn't sing. He was too sad. Henry caught earthworms and minnows. He gave them to Bullfrog,
Maybe after you eat, you'll sing.
but Bullfrog wouldn't sing. He was too sad. Back at the pond, Cricket, Lady Loon, and the Peeper brothers had an emergency meeting,
We have to save bullfrogs.
said Cricket, stomping his little brown foot.
Yes, yes.
Said the Peeper brothers,
I have a plan.
said Lady Loon. The next Saturday night, Henry moved Bullfrog's tank to the window and placed it in the moonlight. Bullfrog squatted in the corner, his big eyes shut tight.
Please sing a song.
Henry begged. Suddenly, outside the window, Henry heard an impossible sound. Peepers and a cricket playing a melody. The voice of a loon rose up. Somehow, Henry could understand the words.
Please, please let Bullfrog go. He's such a dear friend, you know. Please, please let him free. He'll sing again. You will see.
Henry stared out into the yard. He couldn't see the animals, but he could hear them. All at once, the yips of foxes, hoots of owls, and chirps of raccoons swelled into the night. Dozens and dozens of forest creatures added their voices.
Please, please let him free. He'll sing again. You'll see.
Bullfrog crept nearer to the glass, his eyes wide, searching. Henry sighed.
I guess I'd better let you go.
He said to Bullfrog. Once more, he scooped him up. This time, he opened the window and carefully placed him outside on the grass. The next Saturday night, the animals gathered together again. Cricket chirped, the Peeper brothers peeped, Lady Loon trilled, Bullfrog sang sweeter than ever, and Henry sat beside the pond with all the forest creatures, listening to the song.
Or spirit for our opening hymn, number one, oh, let's see. 203. And I can't find it here on my, oh, here it is, right where I got the asterisk, and it says, DS, introduce. Okay. All creatures of earth and sky. This is time that we set aside in our service for members of the congregation to contemplate in silence their joys and their sorrows and reflect on important milestones in their lives and that of their loved ones. We invite those of you who wish to do so to come forward and light a candle as the choir performs in the background. Oh, you're not going? Oh, okay. Sorry. I guess I'm just going to have to stand here and hum. Okay. And during this time, we're going to be projecting the photos of beloved animal companions, living and gone, that were submitted by members of the congregation for this service. What is a soul? In many traditions, the soul is that immaterial part of the person that animates thought, desire, reason, and action. It is the spark of life defining the very essence of personhood. Some even believe that the soul exists independent of the physical body and survives the death of the body in one form or another. But what about animals? Do they have souls? Unitarian Universalist minister Gary Kowalski tells us that, quote, "In asking whether animals have souls, we are inquiring whether they share in the qualities that make life more than a mere struggle for survival, endowing existence with dignity and elan." Different theological traditions answer this question in different ways. For some, the question is absurd. Of course animals have souls. Some indigenous traditions teach that animals were sent to Earth to enlighten human beings, to protect them, and to sustain them. Other traditions are just as emphatic that animals don't have souls. Soul is a quality reserved for human beings because only human beings can discern right from wrong. Only human beings are aware of their own existence and the inevitability of their mortality. Many of us here today think it absurd to pursue this question because we believe the very concept of soul is suspect. And I saw a few eyes rolling. Okay. We might gain perspective on the question of animal souls by examining the mind of a bee. The mind of a bee? Yes, the mind of a bee. So please hang in there with me. Neuroscientist and behavioral ecologist Dr. Lars Chitka has been studying the behavior of bees in their natural habitats and in the laboratory for over 25 years. Chitka describes this work in his book, The Mind of a Bee, published this year by Princeton University Press. Chitka employed nanotechnology, microchips, and advanced videography to study the behavior of individual bees over the course of their lives. Turns out that bees are far more than the mere bundles of instinct, living their lives on autopilot as they mindlessly execute hardwired responses dictated by genetic programming. There's a lot more going on in that tiny brain than we deem possible. And there is a lot of variation in bee behavior that can only be the product of learning and experience. Time does not permit me to go into all of the ingenious experiments and field studies detailed in Chitka's book, but here's the punchline. His research reveals that there are smart bees who are good at solving problems, and dull bees that just, well, bumble along. There are industrious bees, and then there are lazy bees who do the minimum of what's required of them. Some bees are risk takers, and others are cautious to a fault. Some bees are anxious, and others are nothing but chill. Remarkably, Chitka amassed evidence that bees learn by discovery and by observing other bees. He even amassed behavioral data suggesting that bees are self-aware, and that's a capacity not thought possible in so humble a creature. Chitka's research led him to conclude that, and I quote, "Each individual bee has awareness of the world around it and its own knowledge, including autobiographical memories, an appreciation of the outcomes of its own actions, and the capacity for basic emotions and intelligence, all key ingredients of a mind." Now let me be clear, Chitka is not suggesting that a bee's consciousness is the same as ours. There are just too many physiological and biomechanical differences between us based on millions of years of being on different evolutionary pathways. The point I wish to make is that we should be more humble about our capabilities and more curious about those of the animals with whom we share the planet. So many of the assumptions we make about non-human animals and so much of what we think we know about them is just plain wrong. The more we study the biology of behavior of a host of animals, the more we see the richness in their lived experiences. Reverend Kowalski warns us that we have become so accustomed to thinking of animals as things or objects or commodities that our relationships with them have become flat and lacking in depth and empathy. For the past 53 years, Eileen and I have shared our lives with 13 dogs, usually more than one at a time, but we haven't owned a single one of them. Rather, we are their guardians. We are responsible for loving them, caring for them, and basing our decisions on what is in their best interests. I'm confident that many of you, or most of you, or all of you here with us today feel similarly. And if everyone felt as we do, millions of animals each year would not be abused, neglected, relinquished to shelters, abandoned to fend for themselves, or sacrificed for profit. Do animals have souls? Science and personal experience convinces me that they do. To paraphrase Reverend Kowalski, when we allow ourselves the gift of a truly mutual relationship with animals, we encounter the sacred in a non-human form. And as Anatole France puts it, until one has loved an animal, a part of one's soul remains unawakened. I close with these words from a Buddhist prayer. May all sentient beings be happy. May all sentient beings be peaceful. May all sentient beings be free from suffering. And to this I say, Amen. And now I am pleased to welcome our guest minister for today's service, the Reverend Russell Elleven, who is president and chaplain of the Unitarian Universalist Animal Ministry and a facilitator of a monthly group supporting people who are grieving the loss or anticipated loss of a beloved animal companion. This also gives all of us who attend these sessions an opportunity to celebrate the bond that we share with our animal companions.
Hello to the good people of Las Cruces, New Mexico. My name is Russell Elleven, and I'm a UU minister who serves as the chaplain and president of the Unitarian Universalist Animal Ministry. It is good to be with you again. It's been about a year since we last visited with one another. At that time, we talked about October being the month where many Christian congregations, whether Roman Catholic or not, celebrate the feast of St. Francis of Assisi, the patron saint of animals and the environment, with some sort of blessing of the animal service. Many UU congregations have also been doing this for years, and more seem to be offering this kind of service with each subsequent year. We talked about how, in reality, the animals bless us. You've probably heard someone say that they have rescued an animal from a shelter, but that in reality, the animal rescued the rescuer, turning the idea upside down. That's sort of what we talked about last time, that while we may have a yearly service that acknowledges the specialness of our animal companions, the only reason we go through the trouble of doing these kinds of fun services is because our animal companions have such a special place in our hearts. We make a show out of blessing these animals each year because animals have blessed us so greatly on a daily basis. I titled this reflection, "For the Love of Dog," sort of like how the rescuer is rescued by rescuing an animal, turns the phrase around a bit. "For the Love of Dog" is a play on one of my father's favorite phrases, "For the love of God." While he doesn't use the phrase as much these days, when I was growing up in a small Texas town, my father used the phrase all the time, and he could mean different things by the different ways he said it. When I was young, my parents called me Rusty. So, for instance, Dad would say, if he was a bit agitated, "For the love of God, Rusty, get in the house. You know it's time for dinner." But it could also be used as a compliment, as in, "For the love of God, Rusty, how did you learn to do that?" I love my dad and I love dogs. And although my father would think my reflection title today a bit irreverent, let us talk about the things we do for the love of dog. I'll just mention too, as an aside, that while dogs are in my reflection title, all other animals that we keep as companions offer benefits to both the keeper and the kept. I kept dogs all my life, but when my spouse and I moved from Texas to the Chicago area, we adopted a cat because I was unsure that I would enjoy walking a dog in the Chicago winters. I'm very glad we did this because the cat, Maisie is her name, has become a very important part of our family. She helped me expand my love for other animals and likes to sit on my lap as I write sermons. At the turn of the millennium, the year 2000, the country held 73 million cats and 68 million dogs. Today, there are 95 million cats and 90 million dogs. If you were wondering, the most popular non-traditional pet in New Mexico is the rabbit. Now, I read those numbers from a very interesting book written by Mark Cushing titled Pet Nation, the inside story of how companion animals are transforming our homes, culture, and economy. Cushing is an attorney and founder of the Animal Policy Group, which, in addition to serving as a lobbying firm for the pet industry, also helps schools of veterinarian medicine with earning or maintaining their accreditation status, and also helps conduct research on how the lives of humans and pets intertwine. It is, to me, a fascinating book, and any statistics you may hear me give today are directly from the book Pet Nation. I took Cushing's main point to be that our animal companions make our lives noticeably better, something with which I totally agree. And more people are taking their pets with them to places where they never would go before. So there was a policeman in a big city who stops a man in a car with a Siberian lynx in his front seat. "What are you doing with a Siberian lynx?" he exclaimed. "You should take it to the zoo." The following week, the same policeman sees the same man with the cat again in the front seat, with both of them wearing sunglasses. The policeman pulls him over. "I thought you were going to take the cat to the zoo." The man replied, "I did. We had such a good time. We're going to the beach this weekend." We are taking our pets with us everywhere these days, and I think we're better for it. Did you know there is an ever-increasing number of stores and businesses that will allow you to bring your pet with you? Some of these might not be too surprising. Tractor Supply Company, where I got my very first job at the age of 15, allows you to bring in your companion. Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's are other retailers that, not surprisingly, allow animals in the store. It also makes sense that Petco would allow companion animals. But others are more surprising, at least to me. Nordstrom, for instance, allows animals in their locations. So does most locations of Macy's. Ann Taylor allows animals, as does Bed Bath & Beyond, Michael's, and Hobby Lobby. More and more stores are making it easier for us to bring our companion animals with us because it makes good business sense. When we are happier, we will often spend more money, and having our animal companions with us makes most of us very happy. There are specialty websites that help you find hotels that allow our animal companions to accompany us. When couples break up, attorneys are getting involved in custody battles for Fluffy or Fido. There are these specialty boxes that are delivered by subscription called BarkBox that is delivered monthly with what the website says is toys, treats, and unleashed joy, thoughtfully designed to satisfy every dog's unique play style. There's a service called MeowBox that does the same for cats. There is a market for all of these services and more because our animal companions play such an important part of our lives. And I think it's because of love. We love these animals so much because we feel their love too. And who wouldn't want to do their very best for someone when they feel such deep affection? Let me share with you something I observed while reading a recent Sunday edition of the Chicago Sun-Times newspaper. I observed 3 instances where animals were prominently featured and which spoke to health and well-being. The first was of a person of advanced years holding and hugging a beagle dog tightly. My spouse and I love beagles, so anytime we see one, our hearts instantly melt. They have such lovely personalities and are very good with people of all ages. Unfortunately, their lovely disposition is why many pharmaceutical companies use them for testing and experiments. But in this advertisement, both the person and the beagle appear to be very happy. The ad states, "We chose Villa St. Benedict because we can live here together." Villa St. Benedict is an independent living, assisted living, and memory care facility right outside of Chicago. The people who run their program have made a specific decision to allow residents to have animal companions in their units. They realize that people do better physically, mentally, and socially when their animal companions are present. They also realize this is a good business decision, and that because most households have animals, most people will find this benefit appealing. The second advertisement was for Franciscan Health Orthopedics. It shows a person in workout or athletic wear bending down to kiss a lovely golden retriever. Now, from what I understand, movement and walking are often required when recovering from orthopedic surgery. It's often painful and hard work to do on your own. The ad seemed to be implying that having an animal companion would be helpful to both your spirit and your body when doing this difficult work. And then finally, in the Parade magazine portion of the newspaper, I saw a brief article about what you might do to boost your immunity and stay healthy in the upcoming winter months, something important to think about in Chicago's wintry climate. They listed 5 things we should consider while trying to stay healthy. The first, get a good night's sleep. Try to get into a sleep routine. Second, reach for healthy foods, which they said were fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. No animal foods were mentioned. The third thing the article suggested to boost immunity and stay healthy was to reduce stress, perhaps a yoga or meditation class. Fourth, get moving, even when it's cold. And the fifth thing suggested, reach out to a friend, and then in parentheses it said, or get a pet. It's not good to be socially isolated, especially as we age. Walking a dog gets you outside and moving. You will meet others walking their dogs and often enjoy a bit of conversation. There are many people in my neighborhood where I know the dog's name, but don't know the name of their person. Now I'm going to give you a few more facts and figures here. Again, these numbers are from the book I mentioned earlier, titled Pet Nation by Mark Cushing. As we know, there are millions of dogs and cats in America, and that number has continued to increase for many years and shows no signs of abating. In 20 years, the pet economy has grown from $23 billion to about $96 billion, and it is expected to reach $120 billion by the year 2027. Roughly 2/3 of American households house some sort of animal companion. The majority are cats, but dogs aren't far behind, and there are increasingly numbers of household pets that are sort of non-traditional, like rabbits, chickens, ducks, and geese, hamsters, guinea pigs, ferrets, turtles, and reptiles. 64% of households have dogs, 47% of households have cats, and 37% have some of the non-traditional companions I just mentioned. Obviously, some of these households have both cats and dogs, and while many households will only have 1 or 2 dogs, others will have a number of cats in the same household. Animals make our lives better. There is, in my mind, little doubt of that. Businesses are welcoming animal companions more and more. We smile when we see a dog's head hanging out the window of the passenger side car seat. We can travel with them to animal-friendly hotels. We can take them into more stores than ever before. Many of them even have their own social media accounts. Cushing says, dogs and cats give us 2 things that people rarely surrender. First, true, free, and unconditional love for as long as they can breathe. And 2, deep, long-lasting trust and loyalty. Now, I'll just mention that October 22nd was National Adopt an Underdog Day. It encourages us to adopt an animal companion that may be a little older than others in the shelter. These animals sometimes have more trouble being adopted, but they are often more evenly tempered than a younger animal, and often don't need to be trained in the same way as a younger animal companion would require. I encourage you to open your heart and adopt an animal if your circumstances allow. And if you have any concerns about sharing your home with an animal companion, reach out to the animal ministry at your church in Las Cruces or email me if you need some additional encouragement. I will encourage you to make sure you know what will happen to the animal should you become incapacitated, something I believe often keeps older folks from adopting an animal. You'd not want someone so beloved to end up back in a shelter alone and afraid. So, for the love of dog or cat or even rabbit, if your circumstances allow, I encourage you to adopt one or two. That animal's life will be better because of you, and that animal will make your life better too, because both of you will have been rescued.
I'm here with permission of my Boston Terrier. As chairperson of the Social Justice Committee, I speak in support of the stewardship program. Although Social Justice Committee's mission is outwardly directed, our success depends on the strength and vitality of this faith community. I have firsthand knowledge of the generosity of the congregation for social justice initiatives like our recently completed Tents to Rents campaign, where we made more than double our goal. Similarly, the Black and Brown Lives Matter sign that most of us are aware of out front was a result of spontaneous giving as we explored the adoption of our eighth principle. I mention these things because, like other church committees, social justice was quickly turned to Zoom meetings in early 2020 after our in-person meetings ceased. Although we couldn't meet in person, the church's investment in IT and capable administrative folks enabled us to move to the virtual world and continue sharing ideas and safely organizing activities. When we launched our little free pantry last year, the church provided a physical location and also, unrealized by many, a safe spot for our storage closet. These resources sort of happened almost invisibly and are easily overlooked. Thanks to the investment of this faith community in staff, technology, and facilities, we can undertake more efforts for the benefit of this larger community and in pursuance of our 8 principles. So obviously we as a community can do more. I'll leave you with words from Mother Teresa, a tireless worker for social justice from another faith tradition. Thinking of community. I can do things you cannot. You can do things I cannot. Together, we can do great things. Thank you.
John Saxon tells us that a fire exists by burning, but a fire cannot burn without fuel. And it is the time, the energy, the imagination, the vision, the creativity, the compassion, the love, and, may I have a drum roll, please? The financial support of the members and friends of this community that fuels our mission to nurture and sustain a welcoming, inclusive, and diverse liberal religious community that transforms lives and serves the world. As our greeters pass among you with the offertory basket, we gratefully accept all the love that you are willing to share with us this morning. The beneficiaries of our Change for Change program this quarter is the Ana County chapter of the NAACP. You can contribute by way of change in the basket, by placing money in the envelope on the seat in front of you and indicating on it that this is a Change for Change offering, or you can write a check for Change in the memo line. Before sharing our service's closing words today, a few thank yous are in order for those who have contributed to this service. We thank Reverend Russell Elleven for his thoughtful sermon, Kelly and Olive for their rendition of Henry and the Bullfrog, A Tale of Kindness, Catherine and our choir for the music that they provided us, Jillian for the chalice table decorations that we enjoy week after week, Mary, Donna, and Hal for their warm greetings as we entered the sanctuary this morning, Elwin, Mike, and Chris for their technical assistance and support before, during, and after our services, Sherry for all the work that she does during the course of the week to keep everything going, and to Katie and Charlie and our Sunday Services Committee for ensuring that each and every Sunday we are informed and inspired through the messages shared by those who occupy the pulpit. So thank you all. Our closing words today are the blessing of animals, and they come to you by way... Oh, I'm sorry. Should have gone to rehearsal. Oh, well, yeah. Our closing hymn today is number 324, Where My Free Spirit Onward Leads. If you'll stand. And now our closing words. Blessing of the animals. These come to us by way of UU minister Kim Crawford Harvey, who has taken creative license to UUify a prayer attributed to Albert Schweitzer. Great Spirit of life, we pray today for our animal friends, grateful for their companionship and devotion. By our kindness to them, may we be worthy of their love. We pray also for animals who are gone from us, but who brightened our days and who comforted us by night. And we pray for those unknown to us, but who are suffering, for many that are hunted or deserted or tortured. We ask for them pity and mercy. And for those who handle them, we ask a heart of compassion, gentle hands, and kind words. Help us to be true to the animals and love them and keep them and bless them all the days of our lives. And now, yeah. Please join me in saying the words that we use to extinguish our chalice flame. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.